Live in the Pacific Northwest. Be 20 years old, can't buy pistols yet, but still own a Mini 14. Decide to go camping, call up my two has guns friends, Mark and Adam. My friend Mark brought his AK, and 1K rounds of slapshot ammo. Adam comes from a wealthy family, so he brings a suppressed air and a handheld PVS-14 night vision binocular. Lucky bastard. We all hop in my Jeep, and head up the highway. We turn off onto a gravel road, at a very remote stretch in a forested area. Eventually it turns into rough trail, with even a few downed trees on the path. Most of them my lifted Jeep can get over, but a few we had to push out of the way. Eventually after 30 to 45 minutes of off-roading, we get to my secret /K/ location. It's way up in the hills, and it's very cool because you can shoot and camp in the same spot. Mark sent me a photo he took the first day pic related. It sorta shows what the spot we were in looked like. Our campsite was positioned on the far point of a ridge, and surprisingly it was graveled for loggers. The only way to get to us is to go up a 45-degree cliff, or come down the gravel road. I felt very safe, like I could defend such a location easily. One way in, one way out. We plink all day long, mostly at 100 yards. We tried some shots at the next ridge over a mile away, but it was too far away to see the impacts. Few hours later it starts getting dark and our trigger fingers are getting sore, so Mark goes into the tree line to collect firewood. After about 30 minutes he comes limping back to camp, with a panicked look on his face. He's babbling about some bear that talks and won't calm down. He said he didn't get a good look at it, but heard what sounded like a bear crashing through the woods. Naturally, at the time he paused and listened to the sound of twigs snapping, figuring it was an animal. Then, in a little girl's voice, he heard "Follow me. Follow me." The voice cut off as if someone hit a switch. Mark thought it was us playing a joke on him, so he told the noise to fuck off. Then he heard, in his own voice, "Fuck off, fuck off." Nope.jpg, he sprinted back to camp, running so fast that he ate shit and sprained his ankle. Once Mark caught his breath and told us this, Adam says, "You're making it up to make your ankle mishap less embarrassing. Stop bullshitting, mate. If you don't believe me, let's go look." So we went into the tree line, heavily armed. We don't find anything except some tall scratches on a tree. They were about 8 feet up the tree, 3 of them parallel to each other, deep enough to cause sap to run. Being a rational person, I explained that those were probably caused by elk rubbing their antlers. This pisses Mark off. All 3 of us take a leak on the tree, to mark our turf, I guess. In hindsight this sounds really dumb. We start heading back. Adam keeps insisting that Mark made it all up, which makes him even more mad. Eventually we get back to camp, get a roaring fire going, and grab some beers that Adam brought. Mark calms down, and we all get back to our tents and pass out. That night was strangely uneventful, other than a weird smell that kept waking me up. It smelled like spoiled food. Sour milk or something. I was too sleepy to get out of my tent. The next day was uneventful. Shoot, eat MREs, drink more beer, etc. I asked about the smell from the previous night, neither of them noticed it. Sun goes down, we're all sitting around the campfire passing around a bottle of whiskey. Suddenly I get hit with the smell again, and this time my buddies smell it too. We all get really uneasy, because a strange smell like that in a green, rain-drenched forest environment is very out of place. I feel the hair on my neck stand up. I glance at Adam and he hands us our rifles. We start hearing the distant crunch of gravel. It sounds like a lone 4-legged creature, with a slow rhythmic cadence. Elk? Bear? Something fairly large. It's pacing back and forth about 100 yards away, slowly getting closer. I chamber around, and the shuffling creature seemed to hear it, and back off a bit. At this point I realize I had forgotten my flashlight at home. I didn't notice because I used my phone the previous night. I ask, "Do either of you have a good light?" "Nope." The only thing we have between us that would reach that far was a crappy 100 lumen weapon light on the AR. Fuck.jpg. Adam shined the light at the source of the sound, and it simply shuffled out of the light. We could never get a good look at it, but we could always hear the crunching of gravel, like a creature slowly circling its prey. I call out, "Hey, whoever are, please leave. You aren't welcome here. We're armed." We all hear, in a perfect emulation of my voice, "Welcome. Here armed welcome." Tactical pats shit.jpg. The pacing, shuffling footsteps get closer. We all click the safeties off on our rifles, and spread out around the campfire. Suddenly, we hear the footsteps split up. "Fuck off. Off fuck F off" replayed in Mark's voice, welcome in my own. It sounded like a slow-motion video, but garbled up. Mark whispers to me, "Oh shit, there's two, what are those things?" I reply, I'm gonna try to turn on my headlights, turn your light off for a sec." I hop in the Jeep, turn around, and aim the front of the car at the sound. I then turn off the engine, and listen gravel crunching, about 80 yards away. 60 yards. 50 yards. 20 yards. Then I turned on the headlights, full high beams as well as the floodlights. I saw two bipedal creatures. One of them was very tall, a good foot or two taller than us. It had antlers that are 4 feet above its head, and dark brown fur. The other creature looked different. It was wearing something red, and it looked like a human. I could only see it for a split second. As soon as the lights turned on, they both let out an ungodly cascading shriek that rang our ears, and ran out of the headlights with astonishing speed. We all shit bricks and fired into the dark. After our mags were empty, we reloaded and got as close as we could to the fire. Since the creatures avoided the light, the headlights did no good, so I turned them off to save the battery. An hour passed, nothing. I ran out of firewood and the nearest wood was far away, far enough to get myself killed. The fire was getting low. The crunching of gravel returned. This time it sounded like there were many of them, slowly ambling just out of the reach of the weapon light. The light on Adam's AR flickered, and started to dim. "Do you have any more batteries?" I whispered. "I didn't think I'd need them." "I can't believe this is happening," he said. "You brought your night vision, right? Where is it?" I said. Adam's tent was a few dozen feet away from the fire, so we all went together while he retrieved it. The crunching drew in, edging closer and closer. The stench was so strong my eyes began to water. At last he found the NVGs in his pack, and we ran back to the safety of the fire. He fumbled with the switch for a bit, and couldn't find it. So he handed the NVGs to Mark so he could keep his light at the creatures. After Mark looked through it for a few moments, he dropped it and jumped into the car head first. He curled into a ball on the seat, hysterical with fear, crying that we're all gonna die and shit like that. I found the device on the ground, picked it up and aimed it at the sounds. I could see them, pacing back and forth eagerly. They were all looking directly at me, as if they knew I could see them. They all looked like some horrible combination of elk, moose, and man. One had an opened up ribcage, yet did not bleed. Some were missing jaws, eyes, and other various extremities. They had long arms that touched the ground with sheathed claws. I counted 4 of them, milling back and forth in odd twitching motions. I kept looking for some reason, when I really shouldn't have. My horrified curiosity getting the better of me. We were absolutely terrified up to that point. But then I saw the human, and my mouth dried with fear. It looked like Mark. It was hard to tell with the green tint of the NVGs, but it seemed to have the same red shirt as him, same height, same hair. But it looked wrong. His face was twisted in a strange way, in a permanent cartoonish smile. The face was almost generic looking. It was as if you asked me to draw somebody's face that I had only seen at a distance. A poor imitation. I saw the creature emulating Mark open its mouth inhumanly wide, and then I heard another welcome emit from it. I guess Adam sensed me panicking as I was taking this in, as he ripped the PVS-14s out of my hands. Then handed me his rifle. Then he found some duct tape in his pack, and taped it onto the rifle. So I shouldered it, found the red dot, placed it, and started shooting. The first round was incredibly bright, and I heard the NVG's onboard electronics start to whine in response, attempting to compensate. I fired again, and again. The third round connected to the humanoid, and its head split like a disgusting flower. As if there was no supporting structure in the skull. It shrieked, and none of the beasts could understand how I was accurately shooting them in the darkness. Eventually, they retreated far enough that I could not see them. We moved up and inspected the ground. Black blood was pooled there, and it stunk so much that I gagged. There were body-sized drag marks in the gravel where they pulled away the human-like figure. Not wishing to push our luck, we quickly packed up the bare essentials, and hauled ass out there. Mark was hysterical for hours. We eventually pulled over on the highway to get some sleep after we calmed him down. He gets quiet if you bring it up, and will only talk about it after getting drunk. A few days later it hit me. We almost died a horrible death. I can't sleep, I have nightmares every night. I started taking a variety of meds but it doesn't help. I don't think I'll ever go in the woods again.